What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, joined by my co-host, Alex Wilson. And huge news today, as you all know, today was the deadline for Saquon Barkley and the Giants to come to terms on a long-term contract extension. They failed to do so. They said no deal at the deadline. So Saquon Barkley will be forced to play on the franchise tag this upcoming season if he chooses to play. Now, Jordan Schultz just reported that he's not going to report for training camp, will be holding out from training camp, and it could be an even longer wait for Barkley to return to the Giants. We'll see. No word on whether or not he plans to play this upcoming regular season. I'm going to go ahead and say that I assume he will play. I don't think he's going to give up those game checks this upcoming season, but Saquon Barkley, regardless, will be unhappy with this outcome. He felt disrespected by the franchise tag. He felt disrespected by certain contract leaks. He wanted to get a deal done. The Giants, they also wanted to get a deal done, but both sides failed to come to an agreement today. So Saquon Barkley stuck on the franchise tag. We're going to go ahead, react to this news, talk about what it means for the team, what it means for Barkley's future, and what it could mean on certain other players in this locker room that are also seeking contract extensions. So we're going to go ahead and dive into all that. But before we do, make sure to leave a like if you do enjoy this episode, subscribe to the channel if you are new, ring the bell so you don't miss an episode, and comment your thoughts on this topic down below in the comment section. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review, and go ahead and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at Fireside Giants. But without further ado, Alex, how are you doing today, and what is your initial reaction to the Saquon Barkley news?
Look, I think that we all knew this was a possibility, and if you think of this, we're going to try and play both sides of the equation right now. Let's look at what the Giants did. They said to themselves, look, so before this all kind of unfolded yesterday, you hear that the Giants had upped their offer to $22 million guaranteed, but they had lowered their yearly salary offer to him. The Saquon Barkley's representative said, no, thank you. And ultimately, this is the truth, right? $22 million guaranteed kind of was that's where Saquon wanted to get to, but the Giants had no incentive to get there, right? Like they could tag him at $10.1 million for the first year and $12 million next year, get to $22 million. And if he got hurt this upcoming season, you could just move on without the guaranteed money getting in the way. You just have, the freedom of going out and doing whatever you want to. Now, for the Giants, this is the right move. Ultimately, like as a business decision for the football Giants, this was the right move because they want to focus on Andrew Thomas, right? They want to focus on getting a deal done with Andrew Thomas. They want to focus on other players and other positions of value. From a offense and fan perspective, I would say that losing Saquon would be a tremendous blow. I see from a fan perspective, he's one of the most loved players in the organization, and it would suck to see him leave and play anywhere else. But players come and go, it is what it is. And ultimately, like he's been here through a lot of bad seasons. And I think that, he was deserving of some sort of respect, but, now he kind of has to earn next year's, now he has no choice but to play well this year. And like, look, I guess you could say he could sit out. Right? I guess you could say he could sit out and try to wait out until next year and hope that the running back market recovers. But guys, it's not recovering. The running back market is getting less and less valuable. Josh Jacobs went without an extension. Tony Pollard went without an extension. Saquon Barkley went without an extension. Teams are drafting running backs and then they're moving on from them after tagging them for a year maximum. They're not giving big deals to running backs anymore. It's just the truth of the position. And with that being the case, Saquon just was unlucky, man. Like he just got unlucky. He just, like 2 years ago, Saquon gets paid, right? Saquon gets a massive deal like 2 or 3 years ago, and Gettleman's probably giving it to him. This year, 3 years later, Dalvin Cook's getting cut at $14 million coming off of multiple Pro Bowl level seasons and thousands of yards of production and mostly healthy campaigns. Dalvin Cook, guys, he's been better than Saquon Barkley for the better part of a long time. You know what I mean? And ultimately, you look at what the Minnesota Vikings just did. They said, we don't even need Dalvin Cook. We have Justin Jefferson, a couple of really good players. We don't even care about this position anymore. It sucks to see Saquon Barkley just caught in a really bad time for running backs. Really unfortunate. I feel so bad for him because he deserves it. Like he's a good dude. He works hard. He's fought back from injury, put together good seasons. And I think we all wanted him to get the respect he deserves. And, I don't know what kind of message it sends to the locker room. I don't know if it says to them, like, play your heart out and you may not get paid anyway. But this is just the running back position, in my opinion. If you're Dexter Lawrence playing pass rusher, you get paid. If you're Andrew Thomas left tackle, you get paid. This is nothing more than a business decision and investing in specific positions. It's interesting. I really don't know from Saquon's perspective. He tweeted out right before it went down. It is what it is. Now we ask ourselves, what happens if Saquon Barkley does sit out? Is it the right move? Is it a smart decision, Anthony? What do you think about that? Because personally, I don't see how he passes on $10 million guaranteed dollars. It would probably be one of the worst decisions he could make.
No, I don't think it would be a smart decision for him. I mean, think about it from the perspective of this upcoming season on the franchise tag would be fully guaranteed if he plays. The only way he doesn't get that full $10.1 million is if he doesn't play. So he would have to choose not to take 10.1 fully guaranteed millions of dollars. And I don't think that's a realistic opportunity for him, a realistic option for him. I think he plays through the season. Hopefully he stays healthy. Hopefully he plays in every game and hopefully he produces. But I don't think he's going to do so in such a happy mindset. I think he's going to be playing a little angry this year, probably a little bit discomforted by the fact that the Giants didn't push harder to get a deal done with him. Maybe they did all that they could, everything in their power, but it's not going to feel that way to Saquon, and it might not feel that way to other players in the locker room as well. So when I look at this situation, my main concern is this upcoming 2023 season. What kind of effect does this have on the locker room, Alex? And I want to get your take on this as well, because when you look at the leaders in this locker room and the leaders on this team, Saquon Barkley stands at the forefront. He is one of the team's leaders. He's by far their biggest star. He's arguably their best player, especially on offense. So when you look at it, 2018 draft pick, second overall draft pick, loved by everyone on the team, around the league. Saquon Barkley not getting a deal might send the wrong message to his teammates, to other Giants players in the locker room. Think about Xavier McKinney, who's up next for a contract, right? I mean, we just saw Dexter Lawrence get that big deal, as you mentioned, Alex. 2019 draft pick, 17th overall in Dexter Lawrence. He played his heart out. He earned that contract extension. But a 2018 draft pick and Saquon Barkley still hasn't gotten a deal. It's a little bit concerning. And I know that, the market on running backs is dead right now. It is 6 feet deep. Like, it is not coming back anytime soon. We saw the highest paid running back this offseason was Miles Sanders. And what did he get? $6 million? He barely got even chump change for other positions around the league. But that's the high-end market now for the running back position. Saquon Barkley was one of the highest paid running backs in the league on his rookie deal. And he's still one of the highest paid running backs in the league on the franchise tag. So realistically, how much room for growth is there for these running backs who are seeking new contracts, including Tony Pollard and Josh Jacobs? Not much, but that's not the way that other players look at it. That's how you and I look at it, Alex. That's how fans look at it. That's how general managers look at it. Right now, they look at the market and they say, this is not a worthwhile investment. But other players on this team are going to look at Saquon and say, he deserves every penny. He's the hardest worker in here. He's up early. He's out late. He's doing his all, and he is helping us win games. He deserves his money, but he's not getting his money. So what does that mean for me? If I work hard and I do all the right things and I work hard and I succeed on the field, where's my money going to go? Is it going to go to me? Is it going to go to a player who was drafted a year after me? That's the mindset that some players might take, and that is a serious concern as you look ahead to the season. Team morale is really important. One of the reasons that the Giants were so successful last year was because Brian Daboll did a great job building team morale. The team was happy. The team looked and felt like a family for the entirety of the season, and they went on to win their first postseason game in over a decade. But going into this upcoming season, Barkley's not going to be happy like that. His morale is going to be low. How does that affect the rest of the team when a team captain in Saquon Barkley has bad morale? Does the team get bad morale? Do players start underperforming? Do they start getting frustrated? Do they start becoming distrustful of the coaching staff and of the front office? These are all big questions for the Giants, and this is what makes this such a complex issue. And these are really the big problems that the Giants are going to face this upcoming season now within their locker room. How do they manage this? Because players are going to have an opinion. They're going to say, this is the hardest worker I've ever been around, the most talented player that I've ever played with. He deserved his money, and he didn't get it. So what does that mean for me? So, Alex, what are your thoughts on that? The way that this could affect the team morale potentially and kind of sidetrack the Giants season if they don't start winning games early in the season. I think that's really the key here. The way to keep the morale high and keep this from becoming a distraction, the Giants need to keep winning games. But if they start to lose, Saquon Barkley didn't get paid, you throw those two things together, your team leader's unhappy. I don't know what kind of effect this could have on the locker room, but it definitely adds a lot of risk to this upcoming season. And the possibility of this having a really negative effect on the locker room, it's pretty high. So, Alex, what are your thoughts on the potential of this really affecting team morale?
It's tough to say. I don't think it's going to hurt them that badly because this isn't a Giants thing. This is a league thing. This is league wide. Like, I'm just reading a tweet right now. Veteran running backs this offseason, players that took a pay cut: Joe Mixon, Aaron Jones, players that got cut: Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, Leonard Fournette, tagged but no deal: Saquon, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, wanted a new deal and asked for a trade: Austin Eckler, has been a free agent all season, Kareem Hunt. So you tell me, like, is every single team going to have a disgruntled running back that ruins the locker room? Because like it seems like that's the trend right now. Like no one's giving money to running backs. Or is Dallas going to hate the front office because they didn't give Tony Pollard a deal? Is the Raiders front office? I mean, they probably already hate the players, but like, the players probably already hate them. But Josh Jacobs, are they going to freak out over that? Like, is Minnesota going to bug out because they cut Dalvin Cook, or Tampa Bay because of Leonard Fournette, or I don't even know. Are the Bengals going to freak out because Joe Mixon was forced to take a pay cut? Or how about the Packers and Aaron Jones? You know what I mean? Like, is every team going to freak out? Like, I don't think the front office cares. They're like, guys, like Dexter Lawrence, you're getting paid $20 million. How about you just, do a great job, keep doing what you're doing, and be a leader in the locker room, getting paid a stupid amount of money, to come back and then fight about it. Andrew Thomas, he's in a contract year. You think he's gonna like talk about it? Probably not. If anything, they're going to ask them and say, hey, we hope that he would have got a deal. Hopefully he capitalizes this season and leverages it into a long-term extension. That's probably what they're going to say. What else can you say? You're not going to throw your front office under the bus. Like, I feel like that's probably the only thing they can do from like a public stance. And, Daniel Jones went out and said, like, I hope he gets his deal. Like, I hope it gets done. Like, I hope that this is, this goes through. And, what more can you do? You're a player, like you're looking out for yourself at the end of the day, but you're also this is a bigger deal. This is a business. The Giants had, the final say at the end of the day. And look, to me, they're happy paying Saquon $10 million this year and $12 million next year. They just want to make sure that he stays healthy. Like, that's the truth. But I don't know. You tell me. I feel like that's it's a tough thing. Like, I'm not a player, so I can't sit here and tell you like Saquon, like I'm going to be pissed off or like it's going to ruin the locker room morale. But I don't necessarily think that's true. I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to get over it. Time heals all. Give it a couple of months. No one's going to care anymore.
I think they'll be fine as long as they win games, like I said. But what you just mentioned there, he'll get his $10 million this year, franchise tag again next year, $12 million. I don't think that's really going to happen anymore. I don't think Saquon Barkley is going to want to be here long-term after this. Unless they do cash in with him and they give him a good contract next offseason, I don't think he's going to want to play on the franchise tag a second time. He seemed irked enough that he had to play on it this one time. He really wants to be locked in long-term and have that security. I don't think he's going to want to accept that franchise tag next year if they place it on him once again. I mean, think about how badly it pissed him off this offseason. If they do it to him again next offseason, like if Saquon Barkley goes out there, plays 17 games this year, puts up 1,300 rushing yards again, and then they just give him the franchise tag once again, oh man, Saquon Barkley's going to be pissed. I could see him asking for a trade if they were to franchise tag him next offseason. I don't think it's going to fly. I think that they're going to have to pay him next offseason. So, in my opinion, and again, this is just my opinion, don't attack me in the comments unless you really want to, but in my opinion, this is going to spell the end of the Saquon Barkley era for the New York Giants because they didn't want to give him the big-time contract this offseason. Next year, even if he puts up all those numbers, they're going to be stuck in the exact same position that they were this offseason. Do they franchise tag him, piss him off further, or do they give him the big money that they don't want to give him? I just don't think they're going to give it to him. I think Saquon Barkley is going to look for a way out of New York next offseason. Again, I'm speculating, just sharing my opinion at this point, but we will see what happens. But I think that this has pretty significant effects on the future of this team, on the future of Saquon Barkley, and like I said, on the future of some of these other players. One thing that I will mention, though, the Giants not tying up future cap space to Saquon Barkley, it does open up an avenue. Maybe they get a deal done sooner than later with Andrew Thomas. And once we get to next offseason, there's another player you have to keep in mind here, Alex, because you're saying they can just franchise tag Saquon Barkley again next offseason. What if they want to use that franchise tag on Xavier McKinney? He's got a contract coming up, potentially. We'll see how he plays this year. But if Xavier McKinney goes out there and has an absolute superstar season this upcoming year, what do you value? Safety? Running back? Who would you rather pay? I think that's another big question for this team. So really, the Giants needed to get this deal done in order to secure Saquon Barkley long-term and also set themselves up to sign these other players. But now that they didn't get this deal done, they might have to franchise tag other players next offseason other than Saquon Barkley. There's no guarantee that he gets that guaranteed $12 million next offseason. So I don't really know what's going to happen here. And I think that from Barkley's perspective, getting this franchise tag pissed him off enough. They give him the franchise tag again next offseason. I'm out of here if I'm Saquon Barkley. I'd be that pissed. I'd say, you're not going to give me my deal. I'm going to find someone to go ahead and give me that contract, especially if Saquon Barkley does help this team win games, does rush for over 1,000 yards, and looks like the player that we expect him to be. So I think it's going to be a scary situation. I don't think he sits out this upcoming regular season, though. I think he plays week 1 through 17 and hopefully into the postseason. But again, this is a really tough situation for the Giants and for Saquon Barkley. I think that we get a little short-sighted, say, okay, we can just give him $12 million guaranteed next offseason, and there you go. He got the $22 million that he was seeking, but he doesn't have anything extra after that. You know, just those guaranteed franchise tags doesn't give him any financial security long-term. Plus, they might have to use that franchise tag elsewhere. There are plenty of variables to consider here. Xavier McKinney absolutely could go out there, have a rock star season from that safety position, and the Giants say we have to go with him over a running back because running backs are continuing to be devalued next year, and they might go with the safety instead. Safety position also not the most valuable. Also, that market kind of died out this offseason, but you never know. Maybe that one takes a boom next year, and Xavier McKinney's got a lot of interest from teams, and they have to franchise tag him. So I guess, Alex, when you look at it, that second franchise tag for Saquon Barkley, you know, you don't know, right? Like, it's not a certainty. So do you think that Saquon Barkley, what is his reaction going to be if they franchise tag him again? And don't you think that the Xavier McKinney situation kind of has to play a factor here when you look at Saquon's future?
I mean, it definitely does. But, you know, I think that it depends on how the Giants offense performs this year. You know what I mean? I think that if they start to go like 70-30, like 65-25 or 65 30, 25, I don't know, 35, whatever it might be, 65, 35. They like passing compared to running last year, it was like really like it was too much running. It was almost like 50-50. You know what I mean? Like now I think that you go in the direction of more passing. You're going to see you're going to see them say, okay, like, you know what, we don't necessarily need to spend at running back anymore. Like they're going to justify things. I think this offense is going more pass happy. I think it always has been, as long as Brian Dable and Mike Kafka are leading the charge. And Daniel Jones's legs, like that's another variable. Like they get a lot of running production from him as well. So who knows? Like this is going to be a really interesting situation. But like you said, Xavier McKinney, like do they want to tag McKinney next year instead of Saquon? It's a huge question. But look, and here's the point. You now have the decision, right? Like now that he's on the franchise tag, you have the decision. Okay, instead of like having just to tag one of them we can extend, one of them we can let go, or one of them we can tag. You know, if you extend Saquon now, it's like you have the tag, but now you're locked into a contract. And maybe there's a free agent that's cheaper that can supplement things like Xavier McKinney. You know, maybe there's a guy, maybe they find someone they want to draft and they want to replace the free safety position altogether. Or maybe they find a running back that they really like and they want to draft a running back in the second round. Like, you know, that's the perspective I would say. Like Eric Gray's a late round pick. Like am I expecting him to be like a great starting running back? Absolutely not. But like good teams these days, they draft a running back like Bijan Robinson or whatever it might be. Kind of a weird one for the Falcons since they had Algier, who was pretty good last year. But I feel like, you know, Jahmyr Gibbs, you know, to the Lions, interesting. Like teams draft running backs and they don't extend them anymore. I guess like that's kind of where the league is going. So I'm curious to see what they do. But like, look, right now, Saquon's long-term future, I think he plays this year, but next year, there's certainly no guarantee. Maybe they let him walk. Maybe they trade him at the deadline to a team that's like, if the Giants are struggling with something, maybe they're like, okay, you know, let's sell on Saquon right now. He can go and help another team win a Super Bowl, whatever it might be. And then we can cash in and then we can use that draft capital elsewhere. Like, who knows? There's a billion things that could happen. Maybe Saquon ends up having a great season, carrying this team, helping carry this team to a long playoff run. Like we need this guy. Like we signed him to a 2-year deal, and he's off it at 29 years old, and then he move on. There are so many things that could happen. I could sit here and speculate all day long, but the truth is the Giants did what was best for their salary cap, and they still got to keep the player. You know what I mean? Like that's the truth. They get to keep the player, and Saquon, like he's not going to pass on $10.1 million. If he does, all to him, that's ballsy as hell. Like you got to have the biggest gonads in the history of gonads to pass on $10.1 million guaranteed. As angry as I would be that I didn't get a long-term deal, you better believe I'm freaking playing for $10 million. You know what I mean? Like that's the truth. So, especially in the prime of your career at the running back position, you can't waste a year at 26 years old. That is the year. You can't waste it. And with that being said, you know, the Giants did what was best for them long-term. You have big contracts coming up like McKinney, like Andrew Thomas. You know, it's tough. You know, they had to do what was best for the team. And I think they did, but at the same point, like from a different perspective, like is making your running back a little bit unhappy a good move? Probably not. I think that's the thing is Saquon, they know like he has no choice but to play well. Like if he wants to get another extension, if he wants to get tagged again, he has to play really well again. Like they put him in the spot where he has no choice. He's got to play well to get more money. He's got to play well to get tagged again. He's got to play well. He's got to stay healthy, and he gets $10 million guaranteed to do it. And like that's, sucks for Saquon. It's unfortunate. I wish it was different. I wish the running back position was still like a lot more valuable so that we wouldn't have to go through this. But, this is just the modern day football, and sucks to see. And I feel really bad for Saquon because he's a great dude, and I wished he would get what he deserved, but, or at least a compromise so both sides would be happy. But, here we are talking about it a couple minutes after it happens. And, the Giants said no deal at the end of the day.
Yeah, for what it's worth, I'm happy with the decision that the Giants made, but I also do wish that Saquon Barkley got his. It's just a weird, difficult situation to be in from a fan's perspective, from the team's perspective as well, and especially from the players. He deserves the money, but it doesn't make sense for the Giants to give it to him considering the market on running backs and their salary cap situation. So I support this decision that the Giants made, but I will say there's a lot of risk involved with it. They're going to need to mitigate it properly. And before we wrap, Alex, you did just mention Eric Gray. I want to talk about him for a second because this is a player that I kind of have high hopes for. Giants drafted him in the 5th round, and if you look at the hit rate on mid to late round running backs in the past few years, it's pretty high. It's pretty successful. I mean, you're talking about guys like Isaiah Pacheco for the Kansas City Chiefs, rushed for 1,000 yards. He was a 7th-round draft pick. How often do we see that now, that these late-round draft picks burst onto the scene and find massive success in the NFL? Eric Gray, could he be the next one in line? Possibly. I'm not going to put too much pressure on his shoulders. He's still a rookie. But what I will say, we're going to get an extended look at Eric Gray this summer. So let's see how he rises to the occasion. He presumably RB1 in the Giants lineup as long as Saquon Barkley's not there. So once we get to training camp next week, once we get to preseason next month, we're going to see a lot of Eric Gray. He will be your starting running back for the entirety of the summer. What kind of effect does that have on Saquon Barkley? What kind of effect does that have on the team? And Alex, what is your confidence level in Eric Gray as he enters his rookie season, maybe playing a much larger role than he expected to be playing?
You want to know the truth, Anthony? The truth is that I'm way more interested in the receiving core than I am the running back position. I'm more interested in seeing what Darren Waller does. I'm more interested in seeing what Daniel Jones does through the air. I'm more interested in seeing Jalen Hyatt and Isaiah Hodgins and Daniel Bellinger than I am seeing Eric Gray. And I think that kind of tells you all you need to know. You know what I mean? Like that's going to be the bread and butter of our offense. What Daniel Jones can do with his arm and not what Eric Gray or Saquon Barkley can do on the ground. That's what's going to win you Super Bowls. You're going to tell me right now that Isaiah Pacheco won a Super Bowl for the Chiefs? You're going to tell me that Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who didn't even play, won a Super Bowl for the Chiefs? I'll tell you what, did Kelsey and Patrick Mahomes running around with a chicken with his head cut off? Like that's what happened. Patrick Mahomes playing like a freaking monster with basically one ankle. That's what won them a Super Bowl. Not their defense, that's for sure. You know what I mean? Like I'm more interested in the receiving core and what they're going to do. And I think I think most people are. Like everyone knows if you could sit here and tell me right now that this team is going to be good without the receiving core taking a big step forward in 2023, I don't believe you. I don't buy it. You know what I mean? But with that being said, Eric Gray, I want to see what he's got. People think he's a 3-down back. He's a one cut, get upfield type of guy. I am very excited to see what kind of late round value they can get from him. Am I expecting him to be a starter and a Saquon level starter? Absolutely not. I'm not. He probably won't even sniff the amount of yards and production that Saquon has produced over the years when he's healthy. But Gray, can he get the job done at a really cheap price point? Probably. Can he grind out a few extra yards? Probably. Can he pass block when the Giants are throwing the football? Yes, he's decent at that. Can he, catch some passes out of the backfield? Yes, he's decent at that too. You know what I mean? Like he's a fine, well-rounded running back. He's nothing special. He's nothing shiny. He's a good old Ford, like a nice Ford car. I think he's just a good old, well-built Ford, but he's not a Mustang. He's not, he's not a Lamborghini. Like Saquon's a Ferrari. Saquon's like, a luxury. He's a luxury to have, but they both go to the same place. You know what I mean? They're both trying to get to the same spot. I think Eric Gray can be a fine player. Is he going to blow our minds? Probably not, but I think he can do just enough. He can do what you need him to do. And I think that's enough for what the Giants are looking for.
Yeah, I'll say, I really like Eric Gray. I don't know if he's a Ford, but he's definitely not a Ferrari. I think he's somewhere a little bit higher up on the
Fords are fine, man. Don't talk shit about
list.
Fords.
Well, my thing is the thing with Eric Gray, I don't think that it's fair to say that he won't be a special player because, this is a guy who had the most 40-plus yard runs in his conference last year in college. Like, he rips some big plays. He's got a knack for producing big-time plays, which is what we all love Saquon for. So I think there is a lot of potential with Eric Gray. But again, I'm just excited to get an extended look at him in training camp. Yes, I'm excited to see the receiving core that you mentioned, and I think that it's very necessary for the offense that receiving core does take a big step forward, as you said. But I also think it's important for Eric Gray to rise to this occasion. Whether Saquon Barkley plays this season or not, Eric Gray is going to get a lot more practice time with the ones in training camp, and I think that's going to benefit him a lot. Even if he doesn't become the starter this upcoming season, this practice schedule here, this summer of being the RB1 might be just what Eric Gray needs to develop into a really stellar player down the line. So I do think that this is important for Eric Gray and important for the development of these young Giants players and for the Giants offense as a whole. But there's a whole lot to talk about here. We talked about it for a while. I don't really know if we want to keep beating the dead horse. So I want to hear all of your thoughts down below in the comment section. What is your reaction to Saquon Barkley not getting a deal done with the Giants at the deadline? What is your thoughts on the running back market dying out? And of course, Eric Gray, what are your thoughts on him? Let us know down below in the comment section. Again, if you like this video, make sure to leave a like down below in the comment section. Tell us your thoughts. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Ring the bell so you don't miss an episode. If you're listening on Apple or Spotify, make sure to leave us a 5-star review. And go ahead and follow us on social media at Fireside Giants. And of course, we will catch you all in the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.
TVSO.